Drag racing fan between the slicks live. Hello, I'm Lee Kraft, aka the Monday Morning Racer, coming to you from Lafayette, Indiana, inside McKinney Corp headquarters. See some floppers behind me, and I could say it's brought to you by Topo Chico as well today, helping to wet the whistle here on Between the Slicks. Hey, look in to the comment section, and we should see your comments there. Let us know where you are watching from and on what platform. You're watching from X, which we are live on. Let us know and re-exit. Sounds weird, but re-exit, quote it. And if you're watching on Facebook, let us know. Like it, share it. If you're watching on YouTube, well, definitely subscribe, definitely like, and also let folks know that we're live on YouTube, and thank you for watching there. We are going to be talking drag racing in general on Between the Slicks, but I always love talking about fuel alters. I think, honestly, the coolest drag racing machine that's out there. I know that we're in a day and time of a pro mod craze, but fuel alters forever. I know that the fastest and the quickest is Top Fuel, but fuel alters forever. I know funny cars are wild, but fuel alters forever. Give me the alters each and every time. And I think that we are in a period in drag racing fandom that the altered has arisen once again in popularity and demand. And I think that's evident what took place with the IHRA. I think it's evident even on my own platform, March Meet, earlier this year. And thanks to Ross Racing Engines and Hilton Hot Rods for their support there at the March Meet, along with Fuel Altered Chaos. And the Fuel Altered video has performed better than the funny car video, and the funny cars are like king at March Meet. It's performed better than the Top Fuel video, and very much so outpacing it, whether it's funny car video or whether it's the Top Fuel video, by 100,000 views. So the desire, the want for fuel altereds, it is real in drag racing fandom, and they just put on a good show. And the IHRA got a good show at Dragway, formerly Dragway 42, now Durana Raceway there in West Salem, Ohio, with the fuel altereds there. In the comment section, Paul Miller says, "Long live fuel altereds." Yes, sir. And Dave W., good to have you tuning in there from North. So I imagine in Michigan it's Northville. So in the South we'd say Northville. I imagine being in Michigan it's Veal. Gotta really get the veal in there. But Northville, Michigan, and then Chris from Burlington, Iowa. Iowa's a good state. You know, Iowa is underrated. It should not just be flyover country. It's a beautiful state. There's more hills in Iowa than you think. There's a lot of motorsports in Iowa, and we can mention Iowa again later on in the show. North Carolina made a move that was very similar to what Iowa has already done in laws, and that is certainly good for racing and in particular race tracks. So we are going to take a break here in just a few moments and get on the show Ryan Hill. I am excited to talk with Ryan in this way, and we're going to talk with Ryan more than just the win, but so glad to have Ryan on the show and talk to him about the big win and what it means for him and the program. I know this just has to be a huge shot in the arm for him, his dad, the family, the team, for them to go out and be able to win and put on a good show. But looking forward to talking to Ryan. And that's what Between the Slicks is really all about. You know, if I get to talk to a big name guy, fine. I've talked to him. I will talk to him. But I like talking to a Ryan Hill and tell their story in the world of drag racing, because there are a lot of names that make drag racing a reality, and Ryan is certainly one of those individuals in the world of drag racing because, later on this weekend, he's not going to be behind the wheel. He's going to be turning some wrenches and calling some shots on his dad's machine as they compete in Nitro Chaos. So from crewing to driving and everything in between, he's got a drag racing story, and that is what Between the Slicks is for. Hey, thank you for tuning in, Chuck. They're also from Michigan. I appreciate it. We're going to take a break. This break, we go into it. Got to always say thank you to Murph McKinney. We're here at McKinney Corp. He's been a big help to me, and I hope I've been a big help to him and their efforts in marketing and social media. So a word from Murph. And also, fuel altereds are on the rise, and a major fuel altered event is going to happen in the desert of Tucson, Arizona in November, and that is Fuel Altered Chaos. Buy those tickets, book those flights, make the drive, race it, watch it. Can't wait for Fuel Altered Chaos.
Race fans, get ready. The inaugural Fuel Altered Chaos rocks historic Tucson Dragway Friday night and Saturday, November 14th and 15th. Ground-pounding Fuel Altereds from across the country go into 200-mile-per-hour combat with historic names like the Mob, Rat Poison, Bradford's Fiat, and Sheepherder. Take on new school hitters like Cone Hunter, Witch Doctor, Blown Scentless, and many more. See Bonisha's Backup Girl, Header Flame, and Run What You Brung. Drag racing like Tucson hasn't seen in decades.
Kids 12 and under are free. Visit TucsonDragway.com for more information.
November 14th and 15th. Be there!
McKinney Motorsports is your #1 source for all your chassis needs. McKinney Motorsports is the leading chassis parts supplier and fabricator in nitro drag racing. From custom tanks and fittings, full chassis builds, body mounts, steering components, fasteners, tabs, clamps, composite parts, and much more. Our household name in the racing world guarantees added performance on the track. Join our list of proven winners that spans over 50 years of racing experience.
The Taco Man is with us live, Ryan Hill. Look, how many tacos have you had in celebration since the win on Saturday?
I think 3 or 4 now. 3 or 4
Okay.
now. Twice, 3 times, 3 meals now. We'll go with 3 meals.
Okay, 3 meals including tacos. All right. All right. Okay, very good. All right, so break it down. Look, tacos are great. Tacos are great. But what is the best combination for Ryan Hill, the Taco Man?
I keep it simple. I'm straight up just steak, cilantro, cheese, and onion. I do the one white person thing, and I do throw a little bit of Mexican sour cream on it. But you do it on a corn tortilla. You keep it easy. That's it. That is my go-to. That is my favorite thing. My wife likes fajitas. I'm not a terrible fan of fajitas. I'll do it, but if I can get tacos, I get tacos that way, and that's it. She white people tacos, all her stuff. So it's like tomatoes and lettuce and just like hamburger meat. I'm not game for that. No, I like my authentic Mexican tacos.
So you're not a fish taco person.
I like shrimp tacos. I will
Sure,
do
okay.
some shrimp tacos from here. I do shrimp tacos from here from time to time. I like making my own though. I make my own shrimp tacos when we do them. So no one else in the house eats them, so I never have to worry about it. So that's kind of all for me.
All right. Well, tacos certainly are good at the track in Victory Lane and beyond. You were messaging me, hey, I'm about to find a place to park and get on the show and chat. Work went longer than it did. I love this part of talking to individuals on Between the Slicks. What do you do? I know it's a bit on the trashy side, but clue everybody in what it is you do as an occupation.
So the job description between me, my dad, and my brothers, we are actually service technicians on recycling equipment. So we work on any machines that do any post processing of your cardboards, your plastics, any machine that processes metals. And then I work for a company out of Finland that actually builds machines that actually dewire bales for all these plastic recycling plants. So next week, I start a 3-week tour over the country working for them. So it is a nonstop job. Today, I was working for a place that repackages cat food. And it takes us to a lot of different places. Here I was in North Chicago today and yesterday, and then next week I'll be in Alabama and Georgia. So it's the job is a lot of fun. It is honestly let us be able to afford what we do. And my dad's been in this business 32 years now. Josh has been in it for roughly, I think, 12 years now, and I'm pushing almost 7 years now. And so it's a family business that we have, and it's a family business that I hope keeps going for a long time. And honestly, it's a lot of fun. My wife kind of hates that I travel a little bit, but she gets over it when she sees the paychecks.
Right. There you go. Hey, the checks with several zeros, that helps out. What has been
Absolutely.
on the job site, the job that you look back like, man, that was the coolest job? Then what job was the one that it was like, man, I don't want to ever have to do that one again?
I would say we've done. Me and my brother have installed machines for Tesla and Rivian. We got a chance to do Tesla 2 years ago. Of course, it's Austin, Texas, miserably hot. We installed that thing in July. But just to go to the 14.5 million square foot gigaplant and put in one of the machines that we rebuilt, that was probably the coolest one, I would think. And and then God, it's funny, all the bad ones just run together. But we've had some where it's just like where you're sitting there wiring a machine. Actually, I got it. Roscoe, Illinois, one that
Well, first of all, it started with Illinois, so we know it's rough.
Yeah. There we had one facility that closed down that we used to do a lot of work for, and the rats would just climb over your feet as you were standing, walking, doing anything. We'd fight rats about every day of the week, every time we were there. So that was probably the worst one because the machine was right next to where they dumped all the garbage. And the smell, I tell you, I'm good. If I didn't have to smell that again for the rest of my life, I'd be all right.
All right. Well, the drag strip, no matter what, is certainly the best place to be. And you've been going to the drag strip for a very long time. Snagged a photo of the junior dragster days. I can remember those days for myself. A lot of fun. Then I know you've had experience in door cars. What has been the journey and why the desire to continue in drag racing from juniors up to, well, now in your own hot rod, the Nitro Bandido, fuel altered, and you've also got a funny car body with it. So what's the journey been like?
It's kind of just been one of these things that's sort of been surreal. You do it and you work hard for it. Then you kind of get those days where you sit back and you're just like, man, we got to do that. But I guess for me, it's always just been the desire to just do more and go faster and faster. And it seems like everything that we've bought, we've taken and made quicker and quicker and quicker. The door car stuff was probably my first passionate fast cars that I wanted to get into. And then we had the blue car, Big Booty Judy, for a long time, and then Dad had ended up purchasing Mick Snyder's funny car. Mick was a good friend of ours, and he didn't live very far from us. So that chassis came home, and originally we were going to let's do alcohol funny car. And you kind of start looking at it. I mean, none of this is cheap. None of this is cheap. But you look at the dollar per smile, so to speak. We think that the alcohol wasn't for us, and then we decided to put Dad's car on Nitro, and ever since then we were sold. And I kind of was the same. I was still stuck in my ways of I wanted to run pro mod for a long time, and it's funny. I love all my pro mod buddies. I got a lot of guys that we still are really good friends with that we ran with, but it just was never in the budget for us to do it. And then this whole Nitro deal came along, and we've managed to be on the level that we can actually, I would say that our program is probably fairly budget friendly the way we run it. And, this journey, just as soon as we got into it, how do we make it faster? How do we make it faster? And then, I ended up meeting the Umhoffs, and me and Dustin Bowman hit it off, the son-in-law to him, man. I mean, me and Dustin, we talk at least once a week, and he had mentioned that they had the other car for sale, and I had worked it with Dad. I'm like, man, dude, I'm like, this is a great deal on this car, and the decision was to purchase that and sell the Pro Mod, and and honestly, it took a little longer than we thought. It's just that we just didn't have a ton of parts for both cars, and over the years, we've now gotten to the point where we have a lot of parts for both race cars, so we finally got a chance to get this one done. So honestly, if you would have told me 20 years ago we'd be here, I wouldn't have believed it, because it just didn't. To me, it was never in the cards to be on this level. But I think that with the guys and the people we've assembled and our crew, and then what we do with our media stuff like that with my wife, I think we've put ourselves to be in this position. And it's been a journey. This is year 26 for me from racing. I've been doing this since I was 8 years old, and I've never wanted to do anything else in my life. This is a dream. It's a joy. I literally work to go racing, and it's been awesome. It's been totally awesome.
Let's talk about the crewing side. I know we're going to get to the win and talk about the issues with this car to a win, because we saw an action in Byron, and it certainly wasn't winning in Byron. And you all going out and winning, I was like, wow, that's a turnaround. Great news. But there's been interesting moments with Pops in his hot rod, the Mad Max Nitro funny car. Great machine, great theme, and especially this year, been in contention, and technically, mathematically, even in contention going into the last race. They're third in points, even though Cody Austin and John Umlauf really look like they're the ones with the best chances. But if they have, a bad weekend, Mad Max could jump up there and certainly be a player this very weekend. But you have been right by your dad's side, been crewing. What is that like in general? And then what are moments such as Mocan, round one, John Umlauf, right there in the thick of the points battle? Dad knows it, and Dad hangs it out. I had to go down there and fix a camera real quick. Your dad and John, they send it, and I'm like, Mad Max is sideways and coming to the wall. And he was able to drive it, wheel it back out of that lane, and get it safely stopped. But crewing in general, and then moments like that, and it's your dad, what are those like with you on the line watching?
My old man, I give him a lot of credit. He is a good driver. And I maybe even at Mocan, I told him, I said, man, I said, dude, we need this round win. I said, I need you to get that car down there. I said, I don't care if it shakes, smokes. I need you to get that car down there, because that's a fighting chance that we need. And it didn't work. It didn't work for us. But, it's funny. I feel like even over all the years, no matter what, me and my dad, any form of racing, we've always been involved with each other's programs. So I've always enjoyed it. And then, we work together now. So like the relationship's still pretty good. And, I always want to maintain that. So, but working with Dad, man, I mean, we see a lot of eye to eye on a lot of things, and we do talk about how things are. Technically speaking, I have a lot more laps down a racetrack than he does, but Dad has a lot more laps in faster cars. So we kind of have this, I guess, chemistry that works out to where like we're both fairly level-headed guys when it comes to making decisions. And, and then we have our guy, Rick Kraft's been with us Rick's the reason we're in this. He's the reason we've been racing as long as we have, because we started with him back in the late 90s. And then, Rick's come in, and technically all three of us together sort of always come up with game plans on how we want to do things. So honestly, having my dad as my crew chief is probably the best, because I can chew him out. We're still friends when we go home.
All right, the Nitro Bandido. I like the name. I like both trims, fuel altered and funny car. I haven't seen it in funny car trim personally, but it is a great looking car, great looking body, and it looks great also as a fuel altered. So before we come up to IHRA, one, how many times have you took it out as a funny car? And two, the date of running it in the IHRA, how many times had it been out in altered trim?
So when we bought this thing, I originally didn't even intend on running it as a fuel altered. 2 years ago, we had it on the stands at home with the funny car body on it. And me and my dad had this idea. I'm like, man, let's, maybe we can do some match racing stuff with the funny car stuff. And just never got to it. Then one day I told him, I said, man, dude, I'm like, we have this altered body. Let's have this thing. I'm like, let's get this thing out here and let's see what we can do with it. And then if we're happy with it, all right, we'll take the altered body off and put the funny car body on it. And to be honest, after that weekend of IHRA racing, I'm not sure I ever want to put the funny car body back on. But prior to that, we had gone to Byron Dragway twice. Once the rain out weekend that Funny Car Chaos was supposed to be there, we were supposed to match race Brian Inuoi and in the Frantic Fueler. We got rained out, but Sunday was open. Took the car out there, went 150 feet, smoke of tires, and then we're like, all right, we got something to work with, right? Come back 3 weeks later or 2 weeks later, and the car didn't even go 100 feet, 120 feet total in 2 laps. And so literally we had maybe 250 feet worth of data before we left to go to Dragway 42. And, the general consensus was, I just think, we all collectively thought we were just too aggressive. And I told Dad, I said, man, we all just said, let's take some clutch away from this thing. And you know what? I would have been happy had it gone out there and gone 370. I would have been elated just as fast, as quick as it did in Q1. I would have been happy had it gone 370. But, for it to come off the trailer and do that, I still don't have words for it. I mean, the thing was printing tickets. It's the best driving race car I've ever owned. And I can't wait. I can't wait to do it again in Galat.
It's going to be a good program down there at Galat, and it's good that fuel alters are getting a stage. And I love what Chris Graves has done with Nitro Chaos. They can play there. I love what fuel altered Chaos is going to provide, especially for those in the West Coast. And fuel altereds with a brand like the IHRA being exposed on what is considered national event level. As I introed the show with fuel altereds right now, I think they have risen once again to this popular status, and a status that people want these machines. And I know Pete Dove behind the scenes, he's been working hard with some other folks and to push it, and all the way back to PRI 2024, doing some filming and people talking about it, and let's get something together, whether it's NHRA or maybe it can happen at IHRA, and fuel altereds be put on a stage and be showcased and have another place to race their machines, and it be done heads up. I love what happens at Bakersfield, but it is on that index, and it's interesting. But you can tell many of them out there, they want to go just heads up, first to finish line, win light, and run their stuff out the back door. And you all were able to do that there at Dorana Raceway. Now, what was, Dragway 42, and put on a good show. When it was announced, it stole the show, and then you all show up and steal the show, and people are still talking about the fuel alters. I dive into comment sections and with the IHRA, and people express, in general, great show, and they express the show that the fuel alters put on. So, mission accomplished.
No, I agree with that, and that was our thing. It's just let's just put on a show for these guys, and it didn't matter. All 9 of the guys that were there, everybody that was there, it was a group effort to bring all those guys together. And I know for a fact that the second that every single one of them was asked if they wanted to be a part of this, they probably didn't even look at the calendar they were in. And that's how, and that's what we did. I just was, they came to us, and I knew for a fact that the car wasn't even ready. I'm like, I'm in. And, that pushed us to put the thing together. That pushed us to, get it done and get it out there. We borrowed a bunch of pieces off Dad's car. I mean, that's Dad's blower, and those are, that's Dad's blower. I have a blower for my car. We're just not done with it yet.
Hey, Rob from Peter to pay Paul, and you all went out there and got a win, and it worked out. What was the vibe like with the IHRA and amongst the fuel-altered drivers being out there? Give us the breakdown of your race from the pit perspective. What was it like?
It was definitely a really good field. This definitely had like you were on the big stage kind of vibes. And after I think after Q1, I felt like we had a lot more people walking around the pits talking, and that was something that was fun. I mean, I think I've talked to more people probably this weekend than I had previously, and the atmosphere was electric. IHRA was cool because they made me and Pete Dove the last thing that went down the racetrack Saturday night. And I just thought they wanted us to close the show. And that's how much they really enjoyed us being there. I had great conversations with Darcy about it. He goes, that was just unreal. And I'm like, man, I said, that's just the tip of the iceberg with the whole program. I'm like, we got some cars that we know can fly. And I think we can continue to make this show even better. But as far as the IHRA goes, they treated us very well. I tell you what, Daryl running around about 9 o'clock in the morning with the Bluetooth speaker on a tractor and 2 pallets full of ice was probably the most American thing I've ever seen. It was so cool, and then we got fed Thursday night, Friday night. The food is fantastic. I mean, it was just, it's been a long time since you've been treated like that, and we've always had a lot of fun. And then, I'm not taking for everyone else. Chris has done well with a lot of our food. We've done that, so it gave off that vibe of just feeling appreciated and feeling loved that you were there. So absolutely, hands down, one of my most favorite races I've probably been to in a long time.
Right, like every series cannot do what the IHRA is doing. I think a lot of times when people talk about what the IHRA is doing, is like what they're really appreciating is here is a guy with resources to be able to do something, and he is in fact doing it. And you look at somewhere, I'm just going to be honest, the NHRA, they might have not the resources that he's got, but they could do some other things to alleviate people talking about the treatment all the time. So win for the IHRA for sure. Your win in Fuel Altered, mentioning Byron, last time I saw you in that hot rod, it was completely sideways. And then you all show up, you qualify well, you go through rounds, and you win the thing. What was the sense for you as a driver, win light to win light to win light, that, hey, we've turned a corner, we've got it right, and you're winning in your hot rod, which has got to be the coolest feeling.
It really was, and right after Q1, I just I got down there and just took like a second going, man, I'm like, we have a shot to possibly win this thing, and I go into this thing with a lot of confidence, but at the same time, I'm also a realist in the deal that things happen. But at the same time, it was just, I had a feeling Saturday morning. I felt real good. I was very relaxed. And, if you've been around me to know that I'm a dorky dude, and come the beginning of each round, I kind of just took a step back and just relaxed, because this was a whole different environment. And, you take every one of them round by round. I mean, we had Mitch King first round, who qualified 8th. That's a car that goes in the 50s, so that's one of those guys that, any one of those guys you don't want to race. But at the same time, I'm like, man, we got Mitch King first round, and I'm like, we can't lay up, we can't lay over. So, to go out there and it goes 45 and, right back, right back to where it was from Friday. And I told Dad, I said, man, leave it alone. I said, we left the clutch alone the entire weekend. The only thing that we did was play with a degree or timing or two. And, and it just happened to work out so well. The only thing in the finals is the air got really good, and we probably should have given it just a hair more fuel, because on that lap it pinched 2 rings on some pistons. But that was the only damage we had, and I couldn't complain about it. You talk about an absolute storybook weekend. for me, for the guys, and it's no, we've struggled the last few weeks with Dad's car, and so like to just have that turnaround, group morale is through the roof right now, and like we're looking forward to Havana this weekend to just finish out the year strong, turn out a couple more win lights. If the cards fall our way, great. If not, we can hang our heads that we had a really good season between both cars. And so I'm excited for the future of what we're going to do with Dad's car and the future of IHRA and the altered and the class, and then whatever else comes our way. Heck, maybe a father-son match race, because we've been racing 26 years and me and my dad have never raced each other.
Well, that's got to change. That has certainly got to change. Whether it's match racing or you two competing at an event, that has to change. I mean, you've got to answer the question, Pops, am I better than you or not? You just got to happen. It's got to happen. We need to start that 1-0 and 1-1 and 2-2 type thing. This weekend, Nitro Chaos Championship Finals, Mid-State Dragway there in Havana, Illinois. And I would say Mad Max has had a good year, but it's also been up and it's been down. There's been moments you all could have capitalized, and going into this weekend, it could be a completely different scenario. So having the solid race, having all of it come together, what's it going to take this weekend? And Mad Max, Dave Heel, get a Nitro Chaos win, and potentially on what else happens, maybe even a championship.
I think it just goes back to the same mindset that we had when we showed up at Tirana. Is just, let's just not be greedy. Let's back it down. Let's get down Q1. Let's pick away at it. Keep the changes to a minimum, and just race the racetrack. We're not here. We don't need to be here to. We all like going fast. We all like trying to reset track records here and there, but those don't get you win lights and whatnot. So I think if we just have the same mentality that we took with racing at the IHRA race, I think we can fare well, and Dad's car is a little bit more finicky. That's something that we realize, is that the changes that we make don't affect my car as much as I think Dad's car, because we have this philosophy that it does take more power to get this big old bouncy thing moving compared to my car. So I think we have to be a little bit more calculated on our decision makings when it comes to Dad's car. My car, I think we can just swing for the fence and it'll probably take it. So if we can just be smart in the clutch department and just where we're at and read the racetrack, I feel like we have, it's going to be warm this weekend. And that's something that we thrive on, is very hot racetracks. We've done very, very, very well. Edgewater is a prime one that we somehow always bomb 50s down there when it's absolutely miserable out. And so, we win a 60. I think we won a 62 here last year, or 61 last year on a pedal job. So I mean, we have this track figured out. Now it's just see if we can make it happen 3 times.
Well, it's going to be an exceptional weekend. We're looking forward to it. And, folks, it will be streamed. You can catch it all on the Funny Car Chaos, Nitro Chaos YouTube channel. We are looking forward to it. Ryan, look, congratulations. Can't wait to see that hot rod back out again in competition. And for you all to go from sideways to victory ways, that is a heck of a turnaround, and cannot wait to see you all adding more and more and more consistency and laps to it, and becoming that much more of a threat. And Fuel Altered's on the rise.
Yes, they are. And I tell you what, actually, it was funny. I was talking with Dave right here. Nobody had ever looked it up, but we were taking a look at some of the 8th mile numbers from some of the other Fuel Altereds, and he had told me that the 3:43 we made in the semis against Chuck was the 4th quickest Fuel Altered lap in history. There you go. There it is. And I'm just like, I wasn't even thinking about records at the time. I was just thinking about win lights. And then he alluded to that. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, like, how? The War Wagon guys have always been so quick. And so, like, I always looked at them as, like, that's the car that we are chasing. and we still are. Those guys are great guys. But now I'm like, now we got a freaking a gun and a gunfight now with these boys. So now we can finally keep up with these guys. So I'm excited to keep on leaning on it, keep on tuning on it. Bunch of little changes we're gonna make for the next race. Needs a bigger fuel cell. I was about running out of fuel on a couple of those laps. I'd come back and only have about 1.5 gallons in the tank. So it was time to build a bigger tank for that darn thing.
I know where you can get tanks.
I know. We're working on that part.
Any size, man. Any size.
I know that 20-gallon one was nice, but it was just a lot bigger where it needed to fit.
I know the place. Okay. So, just saying. All right, if you need your trash machine worked on, I'm calling the Hills. If you need tanks, I know the place.
We play with trash for a living.
Well, you certainly don't got trash on the track, that's for sure. It got you all the way to victory lane. Good job of driving, and good job to everybody. So cool to hear. Cannot wait to see what you all do this weekend there in Havana, Illinois at Mid-State Dragway for the Nitro Chaos Championship Finals. Taco Man, been good to have you on the show, and we will see you this weekend.
You got it, buddy. We'll see you this weekend. Let's go have some fun.
Absolutely. That's rule number 1 at Chaos. Have fun. We're going to do it.
Have fun.
Thank you, Ryan.
You got it, man. See you later.
Folks, Ryan Heel, winner in Fuel Altered in the IHRA. And it has been a long time since that happened. And there's a difference even when you consider like the match racing type of scenario that they had in the past, because you can find some familiar names in Fuel Altered Racing that were a part of Fuel Altered Racing in the IHRA in like the Nitro Jam era, but it was a little different. I mean, this was 8 cars, elimination, and you get all the way down to a winners with a field that was seeded by qualifying. So to all those that participated, congratulations, good show. And everybody has been talking about Fuel Altered. I can't wait for Fuel Altered action this weekend because they're a part of the show in Nitro Chaos. Anything with the engine, the motor in front of the driver on at least 80% nitromethane, they are able to compete. So you'll see front engine dragsters, you'll see funny cars, you'll see Fuel Altered, you'll see Brian Coleman with his just wild, absolutely, truly unique fuel coupe that is street legal of all things. And you will see these machines line up against each other and heads up versus the finish line in eliminations all the way down to the top eliminators for the McKinney Motorsports A field and the CP Carrillo B field, and champion being decided this weekend there at Mid-State Dragway in Havana, Illinois. Look, if you liked what you saw at Great Lakes Dragway, that's not that far. Drive down to Havana in Illinois, not Cuba. Can't drive there, but in Illinois, and enjoy some great nitromethane burning action there at Mid-State Dragway. And then again, Fuel Altereds are not done. You got the California Hot Rod Reunion coming up, and to me, the big one, what is going to be happening in the desert, Tucson Dragway, the hype is real. There's going to be A, B, and C fields of Fuel Altereds for Fuel Altered Chaos. They are the show, and they will put on a show. So Fuel Altereds on the rise, and Fuel Altereds forever. Thank you, everyone, for your time. We're going to continue in just a few moments after a word from some supporters of Monday Morning Racer and Between the Slicks, and dive in a little bit on some drag racing news and some drag racing thoughts. So if you haven't, hit the like button, hit the share button, and also dive into the comment section as we take a break now. Fly right in your motorsports endeavors with products and services from Dove Fuels. Pete Dove is the owner of Dove Fuels. He is a racer himself in a nitro methane burning Fuel Altered dubbed Back from the ashes. He races with Driven Racing Oils, which produces a 70-weight nitro oil. But that is not all they make. They make applications for you on the oval track, whether that's dirt or asphalt, and for even you, the bracket racer, on the drag strip. And if you need nitromethane, Pete Dove at Dove Fuels is the one to call for a drum, or even supplying for an entire series, as he is the official supplier of nitro for Nitro Chaos. If it's nitromethane or Driven Racing Oils, you need to contact Dove Fuels. Gentle name, Hardcore Products.
Taylor Motorsports Products is your first stop for quality safety equipment for your car or your driver. All of our safety equipment products are made in our facility in Albany, Oregon. From custom fit fire suits to racing seat belts, supercharger restraints, engine diapers, transmission blankets, and many other must-have items. Our racing history runs deep. We are racers building the finest safety equipment for racers. And we're a proud supporter of the Chaos.
Well, we'll take the time to highlight again Ryan Hill, the winner in Fuel Altered in the IHRA. I have been saying this for a while now, since the IHRA became a reality once again with professional categories. I have made this statement, I will continue to make this statement, that the IHRA, I believe, to be successful long-term into the future, they cannot be diet NHRA. And I think, and I have said this, the addition of this class, the Fuel Altered, even with the modern twist, that is going to be a class, a car that participates, that will make the IHRA distinct. And it will give them 3 nitro classes at least, with Top Fuel, Fuel Funny Car, and then Fuel Altered. And you will have a product, I believe, that will stand out just with that alone, even though they're doing other things where it won't be diet NHRA. It will be its own separate, distinct entity. I love what they're doing already. They go to an eighth mile track. Well, they go to a track where it needed to run eighth mile. Let's put it that way. They are going to an eighth mile only facility in Galot Motorsports Park. I like that because there are a lot of great facilities that they deserve big shows, but you can't run to the quarter mile at those facilities. So I like that they are playing those cards and going to those type of facilities, because Galot is a fine facility, even if it is just eighth mile. If you're going to discredit it as a facility because it's only an eighth mile facility, that is certainly very much so a nearsighted type of outlook on distance within drag racing and what it means for a facility. I personally think when they go to Galot Motorsports Park, one, it being the benefit of the last race for the IHRA of the year and the time they've had building up to it, but also because of the fan base there, they never get to see Nitro. It's going to be the biggest crowd, and it is going to be a landmark event for the IHRA. They've already had so many great events, and the momentum certainly is building for the International Hot Rod Association. But I think adding Fuel Altereds permanently to the races will help make it distinct, not be diet NHRA, and set it that much more apart. I think they also need to fully lean into the Outlaw Pro Mod scene, and also just go ahead and add the tipping of the can into the scenario and let Nitro Pro Mods have another place to race. Let's see that happen as well. Again, continue to make the IHRA distinct from the NHRA, and I think you're going to see the success happen that much more easily than trying to be diet NHRA. Not saying that that's what they are right now. They're doing an excellent job, but I think they've got to be distinct for the long term in the future. Congratulations to those that won in Top Fuel. Dan Mercier picks up a win in Top Fuel, and that is certainly good to see. What a competitive hot rod he's got. He has been competitive in the NHRA. He's qualified. He has gone rounds, and it is good to see this individual pick up a win in Top Fuel action and do so in the IHRA. And then Dale Worsham continues to be a stable presence in the IHRA, now winning once again in the IHRA. He has made every final this year in the IHRA, and this is now his second win. Second win on the season. So he has been able to perform exceptionally well no matter the event and no matter the track. And he's also picking up marketing partners. He's got people coming on board that are on his car for the IHRA, and you don't necessarily see them on the car there at NHRA races because it's, his program, but different ventures and different drivers. So that is good to see. And I think we're going to continue to see that in the future as well. I want to give shout out to Rachel Curl, Rachel Meyer. She picked up the win in Top Alcohol Dragster. Team Rachel, just saying. Go Rachel. And Phil Ez picking up the win in Top Alcohol Funny Car. It was asked last night on the Competition Plus Power Hour, what's the deal with Top Alcohol Funny Car and the IHRA? Some events have seen, if I remember, the first one was right at a full field, if not just like one less. Well, this past event, I think there was only 4 cars. Milan, there was 2. So rough. I think there were 6 at the second National Trail, Dorana Raceway. Well, from everything I hear, 2026 is going to be different. Many are committed to schedules and chasing championships with the NHRA. And what you're going to find, I think, next year for 2026, very well the new home for Top Alcohol Funny Car, it's going to be the IHRA. There were, in conversation today, some big names that, throw it in the rumor mill, they're not going to participate in NHRA drag racing next year. NHRA, if you want to keep Top Alcohol Funny Car, you need to figure out treatment. It's tough for the likes of the McPhillips and the Randy Myers to not have a presence in the NHRA. It's a part of their business. It's how they make their living. But there are teams where they want to go race, they want to have a good time, they want to be treated well. And the IHRA right now is already winning on the treatment side by a whole lot. And 2026, Top Alcohol Funny Car, I think you're going to see it look very different for the IHRA in a very positive way. So, as Dave W. pointing out, look, if I'm Ray Drew, I'm not driving to Ohio to compete when I can drive 30 minutes down the road in Wisconsin, because he's in Wisconsin, to run Funny Car Chaos. And also, he had a final to make up. And he was able also to win the final from Byron. So, and with that being said, with the rules package that there is right now, there are Funny Car Chaos competitors that are like, if we're able to run there and the rules don't get stupid, you very well might see us make a few events there, and they're high caliber cars that are considering that. So I think 2026 and Top Alcohol Funny Car for the IHRA is going to be very, very competitive, and that's a good thing. Going bracket racing, did you see Swanstrom is now going to run IHRA Pro Mod in 2026. I did see that, and I think the IHRA will be the natural home for many of these street outlaw former, entities to go race at and be competitive. I mean, we're already seeing it with Dean. We're already seeing it with Kai. You're going to see it with others. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think you're going to find like every Street Outlaws fan gravitate toward the IHRA. That you're not going to see that much transfer, and the power of the Discovery Channel and its reach and its branding and its marketing and the eyeballs that it's in front of people. I don't think you're going to see that big of a fan base shift, if you will. But the race fans, the drag racing fans who were fans of Street Outlaws, I mean, yes, they're going to have their eyeballs on the IHRA, and they're going to be buying IHRA tickets for sure. But I think it's just the natural place to go. Kai isn't taking his car to an NHRA national event. Why would he? It doesn't make sense. It probably doesn't even meet the rules. So why change anything? But he can go to the IHRA, and he can compete, and he can sell T-shirts, and he can continue his brand, and he can continue his legacy, and he can continue what he's got going on. And some of those guys, because of the nature of IHRA and the good work they're putting in with putting these individuals on the camera so often, hey, they've been able to put out their personalities, and you have already got people that are being exposed to those personalities and so many times over an event, and people are loving it. And I think the IHRA, with their production, they continue to do that. It is only going to bode well for them. Less of the commercialized milquetoast type of presentation, and just let these guys be who they are and let that come out on camera. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So did hear about that, and I'm honestly not surprised. I think you are going to continue to hear more drivers doing just that, making a commitment to the IHRA in 2026. Dave W., I don't know what the NHRA would be sad to see the alcohol funny cars go in their current form, since they are trying to push that class to become junior fuel next year anyhow. No, I don't think you're wrong. They really are pushing for it to become a completely different entity. It's just sad. Just be honest with the guys. Say, go on. I would appreciate that, but NHRA seems to have a transparency issue, just period. Whether that's from tech, and this is kind of coming down the tech line because they set up rules and things of that nature. But I think that they should just be honest with them and say, well, we don't know what to do with you. And even bigger than the rule changes, it goes back to treatment. You can see on this very show, Between the Slicks, on the Monday Morning Racer platform, conversations with Jackie Frick, conversations with Sean Bellemere, and treatment is an issue. Treatment doesn't seem to be an issue with the IHRA right now. They're doing a fine job, an exceptional job, in treating racers right. That is a good thing. All right, we'll continue some questions here. Going bracket racing. Thoughts on what happened to the Pro Mod semifinal at IHRA this past weekend? Guy was shut off for leaking fuel in a competition single and not allowed to take the tree and run final because of it. His equipment wasn't right. I will say this. I'm just reading. I did not know that happened. I wasn't able to watch all of the action. I was at a race and streaming a race and had my attention elsewhere. And reading what you put in there, going bracket racing. By the way, George or Casey? Who am I talking to? What I just read, I've got no issue with that. It sucks. You don't want to have that work out, but you also need to have a car that is operable, mechanically sound, taking the beams. So it's got to be under its own power, and it must be operable and mechanically sound, if that makes sense. That's my understanding. You've got to still take the rule, and under a normal circumstance, you would still shut that car off. If there's another car in the lane, you'd still shut it off. So the crew did, in my opinion, the track crew, the people calling the race, they did the right thing. That's not something that's normal. Now, if the crew might have noticed it quickly, I don't know. I mean, and got it in the beams, whatever, fine. But I think it's still the right call. Does it present a final that sucks? I'm assuming it went into a competition single scenario. Fine. It happens. It's drag racing. I mean, I'm for double disqualifications. We have continued in drag racing to try to eliminate that over time, but I'm fine with it. All right, nobody's won. It happened. You didn't keep your car in the lane, and the other guy hit the wall. Somebody lost. Y'all both lost. Doesn't bother me. Casey, all right. Good deal. I'm glad to have you watching. And folks, by the way, you want to have some good conversations concerning bracket racing and sportsman racing, going bracket racing, that's definitely the place to do it. George and Casey, I think they're live 5 p.m. Eastern time on their Going Bracket Racing platform. Give them a sub on YouTube. They'll certainly appreciate it. They are drag racers themselves, and they are doing a fine job yakking it up, especially on the sportsman and bracket racing side. IHRA got it going on. The NHRA, well, they got it going on too, man. Congratulations, the Midwest Nationals. It was a great event. Announced that it was sold out on Saturday. I'm sure great crowd Sunday and Friday as well. But congratulations to Doug Coletta, Matt Hagan, and Greg Anderson, Gage Herrera. Gage Herrera back in victory lane. Like we're even saying that. It seems hard to and just mystifying that we're saying Gage Herrera back in victory lane. Greg Anderson, no surprise, it's a race between him and Dallas for the championship. Matt Hagan, with what transpired with Jack Beckman taking out Austin Prock this past weekend at the national event. I think that's how it went down, that he's back in play with this win, and Doug Coletta stretches a lead. You had Justin Ashley and Doug Coletta go head-to-head, and Justin Ashley did not turn on the win light. Doug Coletta goes on to win. We had Ida Zetterstrom on last night on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Talked to her about that perfect light in round one, defeat Tony Stewart, and then she goes all the way to the final, has a career day as a former FIA Top Fuel World Champion in the NHRA. I'm glad that deal worked out. She told us that after Indy, they stayed after Tuesday, did some testing, they found something, they've got the consistency, they got their car working right, and they were confident they could go out and do, well, exactly what they did, and they got the job done. They were just one win light short of their first win, her first win in the National Hot Rod Association, and that certainly would have, been cool to see. Ida's a good one. Really like Ida. I can tell you just behind the scenes, Ida has worked her tail off, and she's always been open to chat to people and go on a show and talk and just be easy to work with, and she hasn't lost that. And that is such a cool thing, with her popularity continuing to grow and her becoming a star within the National Hot Rod Association. But we had a great national event for the NHRA there at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Such a great facility to experience a race too. The wildest drag race I have ever experienced in my life, it was that race in 2020. It was insane with what went down with Leah Pruitt and Alexis and Tony Schumacher, Doug himself, and the incidences in Pro Stock that day, and Pro Stock and Pro Mod and Factory Stock being canceled and moved to the next race. I mean, just what a wild national event that was. Drag Racing Mayhem, and conversing with him on X reminded me of that, and it was a wild, wild drag race. But such a good venue to go and experience a drag race as well. If you haven't been to Worldwide Technology Raceway, you need to mark it off the list. I mean, is it the greatest facility on the circuit? No, but it is a cool facility. There's a lot to do around it and to experience, and it is a cool place to take in an NHRA national event. So congratulations to all of those that won there in the NHRA. I was at Dragway, I was about to say Dragway 42 because we've been talking about the IHRA, but it's not Dragway 42 now. It's Durana Raceway, and I was at Great Lakes Dragaway. Don't forget the A that's in the middle. Great Lakes Dragaway. This track was neat. This thing has been around since, I think 1955, and it's in Union Grove, Wisconsin. Look at that tower. Like, that's just cool. Like, I get it. You don't have any suites in there, and you don't have any luxury boxes, and like, I didn't even set up in the tower. I usually set up my streaming equipment in a tower right next to the announcer because it's easy to split off the mic and get direct audio from the announcer. Well, I couldn't do that, but I just gotta say, this is cool. Like, it'd be neat that like every track had a cool tower like this, and maybe you've got another box off to the side, kind of like Maple Grove does it. Maple Grove has, the control tower, the announcing tower, the press box tower, and then the other tower is suites. So, maybe every track have something like this. Just a cool, neat tower, the T tower, the way it's designed, sitting in the center of the lanes. I don't think I've ever seen a track that you're doing a burnout uphill. Like, it is legitimately uphill. And then you're on the starting pad and able to launch down the drag strip. I loved... There's so many things that now I think get overlooked, especially people in drag racing. If they're going to build a modern track, I think about it with, like, Z-Max. Las Vegas has it, but Z-Max doesn't. Man, the return road. Loved the return road at Great Lakes Dragaway, and that people came back down the return road right in front of the stands. I love that about places like Pomona and Las Vegas. Even, IRP, when cars are coming back and you get that experience. And I hope that's something they work out, too, at IRP. I know they're going to be flipping the pits in the future. I hope they don't cut out going down the return road. Give that to the fans. I know it's just a wave. I get it, but it is such a cool thing. And Jacob, who's behind the scenes hitting the ones and the twos for me on the show, he was manning the camera past the 8th mile in a grandstand area, and occasionally we were able to cut to funny cars and other cars coming back down the return road, and that was just a cool look. It just added another shot, yes, to the live stream, but it was just cool to see. So I'm glad they had that. And then it was just themed outright. You go to a drag strip, and it doesn't have to have a theme. It's all about racing. I get it. But like Z-Max, everybody says it's the Bellagio of drag racing. Man, it is. It is a phenomenal facility, but it's sterile. It's like it doesn't have any life to it. It's very commercialized. I almost rank Summit Motorsports Park there in Norwalk, Ohio, over Z-Max because it's got life to it. It has a soul to it. It's themed out, and the people that are there, and the even the hardscape and the landscaping and things of that nature just adds to the soul factor, if you will, the liveliness of a place like Summit Motorsports Park, compared to, even though it is Bellagio of drag racing, a soulless kind of sterile Z-Max. Well, Great Lakes Dragaway, it's got a whole lot of soul. I mean, from the big rat in the center of the food truck area, and the bar area, and the general store, and the die-cast area. The general store was great, man. You walked in, and everything is themed out, from information on the wall about drag racing to old school posters and all the wares you need while you're at the track, and Christmas trees, and even metal art that fits. was themed out and themed out right. Like, look at that photo right there. I love that. The old Texaco gas metal art, and you've got the wheel stander and the guys waving out the window. Just such a neat place. Concessions were good and priced right. You know, I got me a cheeseburger and a fry and some chicken tenders and ate good while I was there, and the concessions were good and they were priced reasonably, and you can't go wrong with a place like that. You know, you could look at Great Lakes Dragway and say, they need to make some improvements here and there. Sure, what track doesn't? But it was themed right, plenty of places to sit, plenty of options to eat, things were reasonably priced, and we had a good show. You know, Funny Car Chaos, I've been working with Chris Graves now for, I think this is year 4. I think it'd be 5 next year. And Chris does not get enough credit as a promoter. I don't know why Drag Illustrated hasn't given him Promoter of the Year by now. I mean, they need to. Somebody needs to. With what he's been able to do for drag racing at that level, with Nitro Chaos, Funny Car Chaos, now Fuel Altered Chaos coming up, it's remarkable. He didn't come in with, and this is not to take anything away from the IHRA and Daryl Cuttrell, but he comes in, he's got a whole lot of resources. And I'm glad he's putting it into the sport of drag racing. Chris didn't have those resources. He didn't have that money. This, talk about from grassroots, helping grassroots racing, this is it. And it's been a success, and it's been a hit. And it was a hit at Great Lakes Dragway. Was it packed? No. But did we have a good crowd? Yes. We had a good crowd. And we had a good show, along with the Chicago Wise Guys, which always put on a good show. They had a bit more attrition than they normally do for those guys, but they understand burnouts. I will give them that. Love their burnouts. And the Brew City Gassers put on a good show. And the others that were participating, they put on a good show. And competitive-wise, it was a good part of the show, too. Going into this championship final, you had several with a mathematical chance to win the championship. You had 2 tied going into race day, one in the A field and another in the C field. Keith Zimmerman in the A field, Justin Herbst in the C field, both vying for one championship. And it comes down to the final. Justin Herbst is in a final in the C field. Keith Zimmerman is in a final in the A field. Tied. We're neck and neck. The situation, if they both win, would go through every tiebreaker to, like the 4th tiebreaker, which would have been going back to points the year previous. So 2024 points would have decided the 2025 champion. It did not work out that way because Justin Herbst turns on his win light in his final, but the last final for Funny Car Chaos in 2025 is the 2022 champ against the championship contender in 2025, which Kirk Williams, Keith Zimmerman, and Kirk Williams picks up his first win of 2025 and first win in a while since for him to win with a new car that they've been trying to work all the kinks out over Keith Zimmerman, and Justin Herbst is the championship winner in 2025 for Funny Car Chaos. So it was a great show, just entertainment-wise and also just the competitive factor. And historically, you've got it now where in Funny Car Chaos, there's typically, A, B, C fields. Sometimes there's a D field, but it's rare. But you've got this consistency of A, B, C fields, and you now have had a competitor win that is typically A field competitor, typically B field competitor, typically C field competitor. It's very cool. And congratulations to Chris Graves. Grassroots drag racing with funny cars is a reality. Justin Herbst has got that old Corvette body on an old funny car chassis, and he runs a big block Chevy. That's not a combination you're going to see winning in the NHRA or the IHRA, but you can win and even a championship in Funny Car Chaos. And I think that's pretty cool. And I think that's good for drag racing. And then this weekend, there's a championship battle in Nitro Chaos. As we mentioned earlier, Dave Hill does have a mathematical chance, but it's really a race between Cody Austin and John Umlauf. If I remember correctly, it's like 1 point separating them. And more than likely, at the end of this season, and this is fascinating, Nitro Chaos, the first champion is Gary Wheeler Jr. That's 2 years ago. Last year, the champion is Joey Haas. Gary Wheeler Jr. is in a front-engine dragster. Joey Haas was in a funny car. And the two this year that have the best chance of winning the championship, Cody Austin and John Umlauf, guess what they're in? Fuel Altereds. More than likely, by the end of this weekend, out of Mid-State Dragway, for the Nitro Chaos Championship Finals, you're probably going to have a Fuel Altered winning the championship. And for the 3 typical foundational cars of Nitro Chaos, they would have all won. As crazy as Chris Graves' scenarios and setups and fields and formats are, they're working. So I can't wait for this weekend. Again, it'll be streamed on the Funny Car Chaos, Nitro Chaos YouTube channel. Looking forward to it. Well, we're not going to keep you that much longer. I do want to take time to mention some news, and in particular, North Carolina. They passed a law. They got it done to protect racetracks. Iowa had done that earlier in the year. North Carolina has done it as well. Iowa in motorsports, that's big. And I would argue it's even bigger in North Carolina. And they are doing something to protect the tracks in North Carolina. And that is good to hear. And I think we need to have it happen in all the other states. And then it might even be good to have it on the federal level. It's so frustrating. You've got a track that has been somewhere for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years even, maybe longer. And you have people move in around it and they want to complain about noise. Well, the track was there before you. And then they start putting stipulations on the track. The track was there before you. And then they finally just want to get rid of the track. The track was there before you. So I'm glad lawmakers are starting to recognize this is not right. You should have known coming into this area what was here and what this business was providing for a community and for a people that wanted to interact and participate with such business. So, congratulations, New York. I mean, not New York. Well, it'd be great for New York to do it. That may be the last one. But congratulations, North Carolina. Good move. All right, South Carolina, hurry up and step up. I would let North Carolina get ahead of us, and it shouldn't be the case. So let's get it done, South Carolina. You need to be next. And then we need all the other states to be next as well and protect our racetracks. And I think, honestly, it's got to come through these types of legislation being implemented to ultimately protect the tracks. I remember years ago talking about, like, why don't we have something on the books? And it's starting to happen, and that is certainly a good thing. This weekend, also, PDRA is in action. I don't have a fancy image, but they are in their championship finals. You can catch that action on Flow Drag Racing, so be on the lookout there. We've got another great weekend of drag racing ahead of us. I'm looking forward to getting down to Gulfport for the action that's going to be taking place with the Southeast Gas Association. First ever doubleheader. They're going to be racing into the night on Friday night to crown an event champion, and then they're going to crown another event champion under the normal, typical format of racing on Saturday. So that is going to be a great event around Cruising the Coast. Looking forward to it. We have got a lot of drag racing still ahead of us. The season, we might be thinking that it's wrapping up, but as it's wrapping up, man, the level, the amps, if you will, are also increasing as things are getting near an end for championship drag racing all across the board. I said it on the Competition Plus Power Hour. I'll say it again here to close things out. This past weekend was a great weekend for drag racing on so many different levels. You had so many tracks with their local bracket program or bracket finals were even going on and still to be going on, and they were successful. You had a big money bracket race in the Fling at Bristol with over 400 cars in participation. You also had sportsman racers at the IHRA and the NHRA. You had a successful drag racing show in the state of Wisconsin at a historic facility with a grassroots funny car organization. And down the road, you had a sellout. And then over and across the way, you also had the reviving of a sanctioning body with Fuel Altereds stealing the show. That was a darn good weekend for drag racing. And I think things are good. And I like what the Not Bland Show says. Drag racing is lit. And I concur. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Between the Slicks, episode 189. We'll continue to do Between the Slicks, and hopefully I get more routine traveling and everything of that nature. There's a lot of stories to tell, and we need to be telling them. We hope to do that. Never know who we might have on next or where they are racing. But I hope you find a place to race and enjoy drag racing. God bless, and keep the pedal to the metal. I'm Lee Kraft, a.k.a. the Monday Morning Racer, and it's time to, maybe we'll get a taco. Ross Racing Engines of Niles, Ohio, built this bad power plant for Tyler Hilton and Team Great Expectations 3, currently #1 qualifier at the 2025 March meet. And whether it's Hemi power or power for your application on dirt track or asphalt short track racing and beyond, even into the hot rodding scene, Ross Racing Engines is your one-stop shop for everything for your power plant. No matter the application, they do nearly everything in-house. They are not outsourcing at Ross. So whether it's racing or rodding, you need Ross Racing Engines. Bobby Hilton knows how to win on the drag strip. Bobby Hilton knows how to win in hot rodding. Hilton Hot Rods out of the Commonwealth of Virginia builds some of the finest hot rods in the scene of hot rodding. And that's evident with multiple covers from Hot Rod Magazine and prestigious awards such as the Good Guys Hot Rod of the Year. If you want to ride to the hilt in your hot rod, it needs to be a Hilton Hot Rod. Hero Soap Company is a veteran-owned establishment that produces all-natural, essential oils-infused soap that is sold with a portion of the proceeds supporting other veteran groups. Hero Soap Company. Heroes supporting heroes. Be a hero yourself and buy a bar and let freedom clean.